Galaxy S10 review. Is Shannon going to give up her Pixel 3 monoprice $160 mini Delta printer? There was pain, there was joy, and we got the latest in blocking spam calls where there is no joy, and quite a bit more. All coming up on Tech Thing. Patrons, you make Tech Thing possible. Thank you so much for your support at patreon.com/techthing. And if you are not on patreon.com/techthing, you should go and help be part of the crew that makes Tech Thing possible. Patreon.com/techthing.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is Tech Thing, where we have something useful in every single show.
I was fascinated, right? The Google Doodle shows up on the Google search page, and today I was like, that computer looks like my childhood.
Oh.
It is the 30th anniversary.
Of what?
The World Wide Web.
It's the third. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, so I'm only 3 years older than the internet?
Give or take. Not the internet.
That's amazing.
Mostly
the World Wide Web.
What we think of as the modern web browser,
Yes,
if you will.
yes.
Which is a whole long, boring conversation I won't get into. But
That's
Tim
hilarious.
Berners-Lee did a really interesting kind of letter, an open letter to the internet.
Oh.
And we'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's worth reading. And it basically comes down to, wow, the web has done some really cool stuff. Yay, hyperlinks. And we really need to do something about not bad actors on television, but basically like governments undermining the internet and all sorts of bad stuff that has gone on.
Totally. Yeah,
I mean,
it's like the Hacker's Manifesto, man.
Well, he's worried about hacking. He's worried about abuse. He's kind of worried, like, we have this, that moment where you look at something that happened on the internet and you're like, this is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's a moment like that, except technical and sophisticated as one would expect from the man, the myth, the legend.
Well, I have something that's technical and sophisticated. Do you like that tangent?
I'm not even laughing at that. I'm laughing because I've seen it's. You know what I'm laughing at?
What?
You take Android, you
Yes.
take Samsung, and you get something completely different. I'm not a
You
huge
do!
fan of all the add-ons that Samsung sort of scruffs onto the top of Android. You, however, have an S10 and a review.
I do have an S10, which, as you can see, I purchased from Amazon on March 9th. Yes, it was $1,149.99. Yes, so.
Like your phone.
Yay. So I did get my hands on a Samsung Galaxy S10 to review, but my question was, is it all worth the hype, or is that hype just nothing?
It's got 3 cameras. It's got curved edges.
Yeah.
It's got supercalifragilistic. I don't know if I can say that word without getting a takedown notice, so I'll stop.
I think we should talk. We should talk about the S10, okay? So as you can see, Samsung did announce 3 different new phone models during MWC 2019, which is Mobile World Congress, just a few weeks ago. And while the Fold, which is the foldable screen phone, got tons of press, the realistic premium phone, I would say, would be the S10 lineup. So they start with the S10 SE, that's 5.8 inches. The S10, which is the one that I have, that one is at 6.1 inches. And then the S10 Plus is their big premium top of the line one, that's 6.4 inches. It is a phablet. Yeah, that thing is huge. This one is the mid-grade one. It's the mid-sized one, the S10. They do range in price too. The S10 starts at $899.99. And again, as I said, yes, it is a premium phone. It is a premium price. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
$250 for me, thanks.
So I will say, and I took this out of the, I took it out of the case to test this. It weighs about 5.5 ounces, which is very lightweight compared to my Pixel 3 XL, and it comes in lots and lots of different colors. There's Prism Black, there's green, there's blue, and then my favorite, which is this one, which is the Prism White, which is basically a unicorn, and that's why I liked it, because it looks like a unicorn. It is wrapped in a metal aluminum frame all around with Gorilla Glass on the display as well as glass on the back. It picks up tons and tons of fingerprints. I'm constantly carrying around a microfiber towel so I can clean the thing. But hey, at least it is IP68 water resistant. So that's nice. Yay! Aren't all phones these days?
No.
Almost. Well, all the premium ones should be at this point. As far as buttons and ports go, there's power and there's a volume rocker. On the other side, there's a Bixby button. They still have the Bixby button around.
You can reprogram the Bixby button now, I'm told, which makes it actually useful.
Yes. On top, they have a SIM card holder plus room for a micro SD card up to 512 gigs. So since the S10 is available up to 512 gigs internally, that means that you can also add on a 512 gig micro SD, get 1 terabyte of storage in this phone with a card installed. Now, if you don't need 512 gigs of internal storage, your other option is 128 gigs of internal storage. That one's the one that's $899. And both of those options come with a whopping 8 gigs of RAM and a Samsung Exynos 9820 processor, which is very new, and the device is indeed buttery smooth on all of my usage with it, all of my different apps that I was playing with.
As the resident flagship phone tester,
yes.
Have you ever thought to yourself, finally, a phone fast enough to... Have you run into anything that, for example, my $250 phone processor couldn't do? I will say, when you start filling up all of the space on the phone, you do notice it start to slow down. Right. I'm talking about the actual processor itself. I would love to have more memory on this phone.
At this point, I don't think there's a big noticeable difference.
Right.
Because all of the processors are pretty darn fast.
It's faster. Who cares? They're already faster than most of us need.
That's true.
And it's not like a gaming machine or something.
No, it's not. You can play games on here. You can play Fortnite and stuff like that, which is really cool.
Right.
But other than that, like, the processor's great, but you don't really need it to do high-end processing all the time.
Just wondering.
Now, Samsung did confirm that the Fold will come with UFS 3.0 storage, which is faster and it's more efficient than the S10's UFS 2.1. Why they didn't include the newer option, UFS 3.0, in here? Apparently it's because of battery life, so they want to conserve as much battery life on here as possible. Now, on the bottom, following along with those ports, we've got the fast-charging USB-C port along with a headphone jack, which I am so excited about. I love headphone jacks. I was like super stoked about this when I did an unboxing. The phone does come with wired headphones by AKG, which are honestly like 10 times better than the ones that the Pixel included in the box, which are absolutely terrible. And they come with different size ear tips too, which is great. And the Pixel did not come with different size ear tips.
Not actual headphones.
No, they're like in-ear little buds. It's wonderful. They sound better. They have good bass, although kind of muddy at times, clear mids and highs. They actually stay in place and they do a decent job of blocking out external noise, especially like when my cat's meowing right next to my face. The phone warns you if you are listening to high volumes too, which is pretty nice.
That's an EU requirement now.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that they do that. It's wonderful for your hearing safety. There are dual speakers with Dolby Atmos support. There's one on the top and then one on the bottom, and they sound a lot better than the Pixel's speakers as well, which sound kind of distorted whenever I'm listening to certain frequencies or volumes. This is a very weird issue. Apparently it's pretty common. I'll save that for another day. Now, I didn't get the Galaxy Buds, which are the wireless version of the headphones, or the earbuds, because I didn't pre-order the phone. But hey, I could buy them separately if I wanted to. They're like a few $100 or over $100. I don't even know how much they cost, but they're rather expensive.
We'll look at truly wireless earbuds in the not too distant future.
That'll be another review.
Many have come out in the last couple months.
It's true. Now, if you are using wired charging, the phone is also compatible with Qualcomm's QC 2.0 and AFC, though I found fast charging to be plenty fast, since the included adapter outputs 10 watts, which is pretty nuts. The battery is average, is 3,400 milliampere, and I could get the phone from 75% all the way up to 100% in about 25 minutes. Now, I feel like that's slower than the OnePlus 6T, but I'll have to compare those side by side to really estimate that and make sure that that's true. Now, I haven't had it long enough to test the 24 hours of battery life claims, but it does very well. Like, I left it on all night without charging, and then this morning it was back at 75%, and it started at 100% last night. So that's pretty good, especially since in the morning I wake up and I watch like a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. So I was pretty happy with how much I was able to get out of this. The wireless charging can also do 10 watts plus, but a compatible wireless pad would be required to take advantage of that. Good luck finding one outside of just like Samsung's. Wireless power share is also built in, which allows you to charge other devices that support Qi wireless charging from the S10. Now I did test this with my Pixel 3 XL, and it charged extremely slow, like so feasibility of actually using this with like another phone that's not a Samsung is low.
Desperate emergency only.
Yeah, it might charge other Samsung devices at a much faster pace, but this is the only Samsung device I have to test. So I wasn't able to test wireless power share with other devices other than the Pixel. So next gen connectivity is included as well. There's Bluetooth 5.0, there's Wi-Fi 6, AX 6.
Woo!
Woo!
You don't have any routers that'll, well, actually take that back. There might be one router out that run it.
No 5G LTE, but that's going to come in a new version of the S10 later this year. We should probably talk about the fancy screen. It is an Infinity O AMOLED display. It's 3040 by 1440 resolution, 550 pixels per inch, and it's HDR10 Plus certified, which means you get really, really nice, vibrant colors for HDR videos as well. So similar to a PC, which is kind of weird, you can change the resolution to be Quad HD, which is that full resolution, down to Full HD Plus or HD Plus, which is
So
kind
if you
of
want to
funny.
get your frame rates up in a game you're playing, you can
You can lower the
reduce
resolution.
and scale the pixels.
It might help with battery life too, actually. Like if your phone is dying, you might want to turn it down to HD+. It is practically edge to edge as far as the screen goes, with a screen to body ratio well over the Pixel 3. There is no notch. It just has this teeny tiny little hole at the top. Just for the
reasonable.
camera. Yeah, and the display just wraps around it. It's really cool. It's beautiful. It's also bright. It's very viewable in sunny daylight hours. I walked around Oakland today taking photos and it looked great. I do think the Pixel screen is more vibrant though when I was comparing like the same photos on both of the phones side by side. Yes, it is a curved display. You can use edge screen to swipe over on apps and check out, you know, the weather and stuff like that, which is really cool. Widgets are super fun. I actually kind of like the edge screen. I know a lot of people don't, but I liked it. I'm sorry. There is a free protective film cover that is included and it's already pre-installed on the phone.
nice.
That's because apparently some protectors may not be compatible with the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is on the front. So the sensor itself it's pretty fast, but it kind of seems like it might be a little bit slower than the 6T. I need to test those
I
side
just
by
like
side.
the idea of just pressing the screen. That actually makes me
It's
happy.
cool, yeah. So all you have to do is just press down, and it makes this cool little scenic thing like water droplets, and then it unlocks for you. It's very cute, but it does feel like it takes a little bit longer.
Still a lot less, than doing the dot swipe
That's
or punching
true.
in a bunch
Yeah,
of numbers.
that is very true. Now for security, you could also set up facial recognition, a pattern, a PIN, or a password. I don't suggest facial recognition though, since it's been proven a few times online this week that can easily be faked with photos or even videos, even with similar looking people. So it's not very secure until they maybe update it with a software patch. Now with that said, a lot of those YouTubers that I've seen online, they did not mention that you can turn off fast facial recognition, which is less secure than their more secure version of facial recognition. So maybe if they turn off that option, they won't be able to use videos and photos and other people to unlock their phones. So it might be more secure that way. I would suggest the folks that made those videos definitely check out that option if you haven't already. Now it does run Android 9 Pie with Samsung's OS, which is called One UI on top. It's not vanilla Android, unfortunately. Samsung does include some applications built in, like their Galaxy wearable app. Woo! Samsung Health, yay! Notes and Pay and Samsung Plus, woo! You can luckily choose not to download those whenever setting up an old Google account, so just like uncheck them or just choose not to
Unless
download
you
them.
have a Samsung wearable or find the allures of Samsung Health to be
then you know what?
irresistible.
Go for it. The built-in Samsung blockchain wallet, which apparently it comes with a blockchain wallet, that's pretty cool. It does support Ethereum type tokens for blockchainers out there. Apparently it does not support Bitcoin type tokens though. They do have virus and malware protection, prevention just powered on already, and that's by McAfee, which, yay, I guess. Some of the neat features though, you can use a video wallpaper, always on display with customizations like clock designs and information to be seen. And the Bixby button, like we mentioned earlier, can be customized, and it allows you to do all sorts of different tasks, and it can do voice activation. So it's kind of like a Google Assistant, which is pretty cool.
I'm just thrilled you can program it. My understanding is that you can now program the Bixby button to do something other than start Bixby.
Yes, I have heard that as well.
So good.
Yes.
Thank you, Samsung.
I have also heard this as well. I have not tested it out. I'm not super familiar with Bixby, but that's something that I really want to dig into. Now, there's about 5 million cameras on this thing. There's 4. There's 4 cameras instead of just, 2 on the front and 1 on the back or anything. There's 4. The front-facing selfie camera is a dual pixel. It's 10 megapixel f1.9 aperture lens. The back has a 16 megapixel ultra wide f2.2, a dual pixel 12 megapixel wide lens with f1.5 to 2.4 aperture and optical image stabilization too. And then there's also a 12 megapixel telephoto lens that is f2.4, and that one also has OIS built in. So as far as the rear camera goes, I got sharper, finer details in a lot of my pictures, but I felt like it was overcompensating, and that sometimes makes the photos look a little bit grainy, especially when I was outside or I was trying to take really close-up photos of things. When you zoom in, you can definitely see some muddiness when they're trying to include a lot more detail and make things pop, it seemed. Brighter photos as well, but this also means that whites tend to be blown out on sunny days, so I wasn't super impressed with the super bright pictures. Low light photos didn't stand out to me as being all that great. They were a lot darker than my Pixel 3, even with bright night scene optimization turned on, and it was very strange how it almost seemed, again, like it was trying to overcompensate. Bokeh was pretty terrible in my opinion as well, to the point where photos were blown out and they lost a lot of detail on the subject, especially around the edges. The Pixel 3 XL is not perfect either, but that one does a lot better.
I wonder how much of this might be improved over time if they, if there is software to upgrade or firmware to upgrade, because
they could fix it with software. That's one of those things.
I mean, outside of color, detail, brightness issues, some questions about how it's choosing to level light. It just it seems like a hot mess of a camera. Oh, no, a hot maybe there were maybe it's hard to develop software for 4 different cameras simultaneously while hitting a deadline.
I don't think of it as a hot mess. It's just not impressive enough for a premium phone. The ultra wide angle lens though, that was awesome. And yes, I did get my finger in the picture. Y'all can make fun of me. I totally did that. It looked really good. The telephoto lens looked far better than digitally zooming on a regular phone that does not have that enhanced zoom telephoto lens included. The OIS was really excellent. The front-facing single camera did a good job with selfies, but once I turned on those bokeh effects, it just lost its appeal. So I think that I would get a lot better portraits with the S10 Plus, I think, since it includes a second camera on the front as well.
Could you turn off the bokeh from the selfie? Okay.
Yeah, I can totally turn off the bokeh, and then I have this nice, in focus background behind me, which is perfectly fine. I just like using bokeh. I think it's pretty, but it just didn't look very good. So it is a very, very pretty phone. It has lots and lots of premium features. It's very gorgeous. It looks like a unicorn. But a lot of those features sound really good on paper, but realistically, they didn't make me think you have to buy this phone, OMG, buy it right now, this is the #1 phone. They're just, for me, it was just it's not bad. I mean, if you're due for an upgrade, it's an option. It's a very expensive option.
This is the most backhanded positive review I've ever heard you give a phone.
I like to stay positive, but I just was not wowed by it. I was not super impressed, and it does have its issues. It's not perfect. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of technology, beautiful screen.
I mean, it definitely has that whole like an iPhone. It's a fetish object. You touch it,
it's
and
gorgeous.
It feels amazing in your hand, and it has some heft to it, despite being so light.
Yeah, I just feel like it kind of missed its mark, and that is disappointing for me. So it's an option, have fun, but I still think the Pixel 3 XL has a better camera, honestly, even though it's months old.
If you were looking at, say, by the latest HTC, which costs considerably less, versus this, where do you fall in that decision?
I would seriously consider the HTC, actually. Sorry, Samsung. Love you guys, but try harder.
Got a question about an Android phone you want to see reviewed? I do the cheap stuff. She does the expensive stuff, and we try to keep you well informed. Email ask@techthing.com. We're listening. Maybe we're reading. We're watching our inbox.
I will read the Samsung Fold next. The Galaxy Fold. Huh? Want to see that reviewed? I'm like looking for an excuse to buy the folds so I can see it in person.
Oh my goodness. So I've built 2 3D printers from kits. I've played around with a half dozen more 3D printers, and I just have to be incredibly frank. Monoprice's $159.99 MP Mini Delta 3D printer was the first time I actually ever both screamed with rage and cooed with joy at a 3D printer in the first hour of ownership.
Oh no!
Out of the box, setting it on the kitchen table, full-on Harbor Freight cheap tool moment. Have you ever been to a Harbor Freight?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And if you've been to a Harbor Freight, you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't that parts were missing from the box, but one of the rubber feet was missing. So I took the printer out of the box, set it down on my recycled vintage oak that I refinished with my very own Princess hands, and gouged a 4-inch scratch into the surface of my table within like 60 seconds of being out of the box. Okay, this happens. I now know for the rest of my life I'll always look underneath the thing before I put it on the table.
Yeah.
40 minutes later, I was staring with disbelief at a charming 2-inch high test print of a Necco Kitty that came. So basically, there was a test file to print. They're like, plug it in, do this, load your filament. And, it was amazing, right? This is a $160 printer that does 50 micron layers. It's 0.5 millimeter. So it looked really, really good. I was impressed. It's a Delta design. It's a 4-pound Delta design with a handle on the top like a lunchbox. Delta is the 3-legged spidery thing going on while it prints. The thing felt solid from the handle on the top to the anodized aluminum tower and the steel subframe. It's a little loud. There's a lot of hacks out there for making it quietly. But there's also a decent sized color LCD and 3 buttons to navigate at the bottom. There's a heated metal base plate. This is all really, really impressive for $160. Now, this is essentially a rebranded Malian M300 3D printer. They're a pretty well-known, if you're deep into 3D printing, I am told it's a pretty well-known brand. The build area isn't very big. You can kind of see what's going on right down here. Oh, look, a Necco Kitty. 110 millimeters by 120 millimeters surface area. They call it for the specs in the Monoprice listings. I'm told 120 millimeters is the max height, so think like a cylinder. Because Delta printers, as the 3 legs swing, you can only get so far into the corners. So think 4.33 inches in diameter by 4.7 inches high. I never maxed out the volume, but it's too small for a lot of the Chuck gliders and stuff that my boys now want to print out. Also because some of the designs we want to print out, they need to go out to the edges of a 120 millimeter square. I also nearly never got to print anything other than a Necco Kitty. Because what happened, right? I opened it, I scratched the table, I run the test print. The test print looks amazing because I've had a lot of printers where it came out of the box. and there was one printer I played with for over 3.5 months and never successfully got the firmware from the factory to print. It kept printing it like the Z or this axis was like 75% of what it should have been. In any case. So let me walk through a bunch of things. First, the USB 2.0 connection in this is incredibly flaky. The money they spent on the unit and the Bowden and the print head and all the good stuff, they didn't really spend on the controller board. The controller board works fine in certain modes, but USB 2.0 is flaky. It wouldn't actually even connect to several machines I tried it out with. The Wi-Fi connection is really curious. It's 2.4 gigahertz only. And if your 2.4 gigahertz has the same name as your 5 gigahertz network, hi, I run a mesh network system, you need to change the name on one of them. Otherwise, it kind of goes, well, these are, and it never really logs into Wi-Fi.
Oh, that stinks.
If you have a different name for 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, you will have, these issues will not be yours. And a lot of people really like Octoprint with this. I just stuck with a micro SD card for printing. I never had a successful test print with the Cura setup that came on the micro SD card from the factory, which was not Cura's fault. If you've never played around with Cura, Cura's awesome.
Cura is awesome.
Is an amazing piece of free software. But once I found a solid configuration file for the printer, a profile for the printer, I went from it just refusing to print, or it wouldn't finish a print, or the print would be a train wreck, to rock solid prints. As long as I didn't have problems with the filament getting stuck, which is an issue with me and the spool I was using, I think more so than the printer. Big shout out to the Mini Delta Reddit, this is one of those products where the community that built around it is what makes it a really interesting product. And an even bigger shout out to mpminidelta.com, the Monoprice Delta wiki, which I think may be run by Monoprice, but I can't tell. But this linked me to this right over here. Brian Kurtz's profiles for this printer. His profiles worked where, for example, the factory software didn't work, or the $149 app Simplify 3D, which is actually, a friend of mine lives for Simplify 3D because he had a 3D printer that he spent thousands on that wouldn't print, but Simplify 3D fixed this. The profile from Simplify 3D was not nearly as good as the enthusiast profile set up by Brian Kurtz. That's the big lesson of this low-cost printer. If you're a DIY kind of person that doesn't mind having to sort things out for yourself, the Mini Delta is pretty cool. And it's not nearly as fraught as, say, setting up a K40 laser cutter. And if you've never set up a K40 laser cutter, just search K40 laser cutter and you find links to all these Chinese manufactured laser cutters and hell stories about people like lighting walls on fire.
Oh, yes.
Or nearly blinding themselves. And seriously, the latest free Cura software with Mr. Kurtz's profile turned this from a NekoKitty duplicator, which is cool but not really practical, to an actual functioning, useful 3D printer. It's not the fastest printer. Because it's printing at like 50 microns at a half a millimeter. So an object this size, which is a 3D top, because my boys love tops, and this is about 90 minutes of work.
Oh, wow.
So it looks nice, but if you've never owned a 3D printer, I want to tell you, it works nothing like a replicator from a science fiction story. It's an act of patience and noise and patience and for the first
and more noise.
But it's really cool when it works. It would have been really nice if it worked that well out of the box. Also, spool filament management, because headless NekoKitties are scary. As I drop it, I like this thing, seriously. At least as long as I have a copy of that profile stored on the USB drive, big thumbs up, and watch out for the feet. And I'm probably going to build this better spool holder, because sometimes spool management is crazy. And seriously, the difference between this hot steaming mess and an actual printed functioning model was the profile, the profile running on the software.
Wow, that's amazing.
It actually, when I finally got it to work, it was like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. But getting it to work was a long and painful process. But I have links in the show notes, so it doesn't have to be a long and painful process for you. By the way, you may also want to think about some other upgrades, like a borosilicate glass print surface, because a lot of people have upgraded the factory surface, which is an aluminum plate with a fancy sticker on top. You might also want to upgrade the heater on the print surface. Did I mention this is a hacker-friendly printer?
It sounds very hacker-friendly.
You will probably want to mod, because once you start doing things, you start doing things better. If you want a bit more build space, because square instead of circle, Monoprice's MP Select Mini 3D Printer V2 is worth a look. It ups the, I want to say it's like 1728 cc's for the build volume. Only does 0.1 millimeter layer resolution, which is twice as thick, but that's pretty manageable for most objects. Micro USB, micro SD, also from Maliensis, and it's $189.
Wow.
No, excuse me, $190.
$190, yep. That's not bad.
It is really amazing to see where this stuff is coming from.
Oh, yeah.
I also, it's also interesting to watch this industry kind of consolidate really hard, because we've seen a lot of printer companies either get reorganized or go out of business.
Yes, we have.
PrinterBot's awesome and gone. But it's still not like they made it seem like it was going to be a couple years ago, where you would be like, I'm on Thingiverse and there's a cool thing for my kid and I'm going to print it out, because, this looks pretty good, but it was still 15 minutes of work to get the base off and to sand everything down, and I wasn't also trying to clean up all the individual layers or paint it and stuff. It's a very DIY kind of like, I'm a maker, gonna be making things. It's not like instant magic printing from a Neil Stephenson novel, so that would be nice.
Not quite. Not quite.
Yeah. Well, if you're into 3D printing, you want to give us some advice, fire it out. If you got a 3D printing question, fire it out. I'm no expert, but I'm curious, and I know folks that will talk to us. Email ask@techthing.com or tweet @PatrickNorton or
@Snubs.
Please do.
We got an email from Todd with a battle station.
Battle stations!
Yes! As a longtime tech nerd and PC gamer that works from home in security operations, I have a multi-use battle station.
Yes.
To the left is the workstation with an ultra widescreen display and wireless keyboard and mouse connected to a work laptop. To the right is the gaming system with a 34-inch 1440 by 3440 G-Sync primary screen for the games and 27-inch secondary for maps, info, and Discord, plugged into a self-built system with an i7-7700, 1080 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM, 500 gig NVMe boot drive, and 2 terabyte SATA SSD. Data and game drive. Above is a 42-inch 4K TCL TV for keeping up on the tech news, watching various training videos to expand my skills, and running episodes of Babylon 5 or Tolkien movies in the background. Finally, Philips Hue lights to switch between workday bright to full room game lighting using the Hue Sync app.
Nice.
Also attached is a picture of my 2 sweet but very persistent pups who insist on regular analog breaks for walks and cuddles. Love the show, from Todd. So cute. I mean, I'm totally down with like babysitting your dogs. If you ever need somebody to give them walks and cuddles and things like that, I'm okay with this.
You might want to talk to the cats first.
They'll be okay. They own the house. Thank you, Todd. And of course, if you have a battle station that you would like to share with us, we would love to share it on the show. Email it to us, ask@techthing.com.
Cool stuff, Todd. We love your questions, your tips, your suggestions, your products, and ideas to check out. You can tweet at TechThing, at Snubs, or at Patrick Norton. That's me. Or just email ask@techthing.com. We love to hear what you're curious about because you help drive the show. And a big shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/techthing. You make the show possible. Our thanks to you. Join the crew that makes TechThing happen at patreon.com/techthing. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
Les emailed ask@techthing.com. Help, help, help! Does anyone make an app for iOS that kills incoming calls dead in their tracks without any of this going to voicemail nonsense? I have pay-as-you-go 2 to 4 calls a day. Calls go through, usually no one there, and even if I can block some, they go to voicemail and I get charged. These calls come from numbers assigned to a VoIP reseller, Aristel.ca, who takes absolutely no responsibility for these numbers and their bad business practices, and the numbers change every day. My ideal software is something that blacklists every area code in the world, stops calls dead as soon as the area code is detected, calls in allowed through whitelisting and from contacts only. I would pay almost anything, well, reasonable anything, for software like this. From Les. Les, I feel you. I feel you so much. I understand.
So my oldest child got the first cell phone a few months ago.
Yay.
And one of the big scary things he has to deal with is getting these random calls from strange people. And at first it was random and scary, and he was like, someone call. It's okay. Could be a wrong number, possibly a spam call.
Yeah.
No one's, it's not someone, trying to find you or anything. Well, they are, but they're just trying to sell you insurance or a timeshare. And then now he knows that if it's not a number that he recognizes it's a spam call, and he's really pissed. Let's talk about blocking calls that aren't in your contacts list. I will say, for me, it makes me a bit nervous. For example, what if one of my boys is lost and a Good Samaritan tries to call me and I block their number because it's not someone I already know? Or I forgot to add the number of the plumber or whatever, and somebody who I need to call me can't get through because I have blacklisted them all. That said, it is totally doable in both iOS and Android. In Android, you can tweak call settings so you only receive calls from people in your contacts. You can do call settings, block number, block unknown caller. Now, there are also apps that do this. You can also try Calls Blacklist Pro on Android, which a lot of people seem to really like. Do Not Disturb in iOS. If you haven't played around with Do Not Disturb in iOS, you can actually kind of hack that to only use your contacts. Basically, it's allow calls from all contacts only. And that will essentially block people who aren't in your contact list. They will be gone forever. Now, for your bigger question, that sort of international black hole of bad numbers, well, this is kind of a follow-up to a segment we did last year. The short answer is this is a pretty impossible game of whack-a-mole. For example, you trace those numbers back to a particular VoIP reseller. The problem is it may be somebody spoofing a block of numbers that is supposed to be tied to that VoIP reseller, basically mystically going like, oh, here's Shannon's phone number. I'm calling from Shannon.
Yeah.
Not that they know it's Shannon, it's just a randomly selected group of 10 digits. And the apps you're looking for already exist. They're just fighting an impossible task. It's like that moment where you're like, someone is wrong on the internet, and I'm not going to stop typing until everyone is right on the internet. That kind of a sort of impossible task. If you're not there already, you should be on the Do Not Call Registry, which is FTC's, the National Do Not Call Registry, and reputable telemarketers won't call you once you're on the FTC's Do Not Call Registry, aka donotcall.gov. The problem is we're talking about scumbags here. People who call up vulnerable people and exploit them, either to sell them computer services or bogus. Basically, these people are morally reprehensible in many cases, and they're doing something that's already illegal. There are a lot of apps for your phone. One that a lot of people like is Nomorobo, for example. It has a massive list of bad numbers and will automatically block them on your smartphone for $2 a month. Literally, there are a lot of these apps. Truecaller, Hiya, RoboKiller, Safe's Call Blocker. We could go on and on and on. I love the idea. One, I don't want to actually run one of these apps, but I got to say, I love the fact that now inside of Apple, you can actually run or stack multiple blocking apps inside of iOS. Because, hey, the more numbers you know to block, the more numbers you're not getting spam calls from. You can also check your carrier for services they offer. Verizon made their call filter service available to everyone, to all users free earlier this year. I want to say back at CES. T-Mobile started flagging spam calls back in 2017 with Spam ID. My personal carrier, AT&T, they have Call Protect, which automatic fraud blocking. They basically block calls flat out from known bad numbers, and then they give you a suspected spam warning that ID is possible. Basically.
That's kind of like what I get on my Pixel 3 XL.
Yeah.
With Google.
Yeah, and that one it's interesting because I literally, for about 3 weeks, there's this whole series of numbers from the same area code.
Yeah.
It was just like, suspected spam, suspect. And since I didn't know anybody in that particular part of the United States, nor was I doing business with anyone there, I felt comfortable ignoring them. And like you, they went to voicemail and basically left no message. Look, the problem is because the entire phone system is digital now, there's pretty much an infinite number of numbers for the scumbags to roll through. And they do, and they keep rolling. And they could also start spoofing legitimate numbers, intentionally or accidentally, because who cares? I'm just trying to steal money from people. I find if I don't screw up and answer one of these phone numbers, they stop calling for a while, sometimes for months. I also find if I do accidentally answer a spam number, I will get a rush of spam calls for a few days. It's frustrating, but right now at this point, you have phone manufacturers, you have software developers, you have the carriers, and to a lesser degree, even the United States government, all trying to do something about this. It is an enormous challenge. So hopefully some of this helps you out. Hopefully some of the settings help you out in the phone, because that is pretty much the absolute way to lock this down, is only take phone calls from the people on your contact list. And you can do that in both Android and iOS.
Well, if you have any questions to further along with this topic about blocking phone numbers or blocking scammers or spam phone calls, definitely let us know. We would like to research it a little bit more. And it's perfect timing, given that John Oliver just did a whole 20-minute video about this on his own show. So very, very ironic timing there.
There's a man that can work up a head of anger.
Oh, yeah. Ask@techthing.com if you have any questions for us, or you can tweet us at TechThing.
We got a tweet from Marcos. He says, I'm planning to buy Bluetooth headphones with aptX HD and LDAC codec support. How to connect them to my Windows 10 laptop and make sure it uses aptX HD and or LDAC codec. Laptop has Intel dual band wireless AC8260 with Bluetooth 4.2 built in. Thanks. Okay.
You're welcome.
Woo! We get excited about high quality audio streaming. It's
That's true.
First up, there's let me tell you the bad news and the bad news, right? You're pretty much going to have to buy a Bluetooth adapter that actually supports aptX HD or LDAC, because your laptop chipset does neither, as far as I know. And if you want to see a really short list, go over to the fantastic aptX.com. And you can go to aptX HD, and they actually have a whole list of all of the products that run aptX HD. And if you click on notebooks,
Oh. Wait,
yeah.
really? There's none?
There's none.
Oh.
So I will also say I don't think I've ever seen Sony's LDAC in any kind of rig that will plug into a PC. It shows up sort of in phones, and it shows up in headsets, and it doesn't really show up in a lot of other places. Your best bet is probably finding an HD flavored aptX adapter, but that's still going to be challenging. Highgoing has a really good rep, but their particular adapter, transmitter, Bluetooth 5.0 adapter that does aptX HD, but you'll notice this is actually a SPDIF input, not USB. So if you don't have SPDIF in your laptop, and you probably don't, that one's not going to work. Astral Currents AK-XB10 sounds fantastic. I've had a chance to test it. That has aptX HD built into it, but it is not something you're going to stick into a USB port and leave there. It's about half the size of a hockey puck, and it's also $99, which may be painfully expensive for a lot of people out there. To be perfectly honest with you, regular plain old Bluetooth audio is actually pretty good. aptX, regular aptX, is actually outstanding as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to, you can actually literally drill into because aptX has to be licensed, right? So if you go into aptX Solutions, aptX HD, you can scroll through, and where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. You can get a list of all of the products.
That's useful.
For the different product categories to find out what is available in the world of aptX HD. I don't want a turntable, but I want this turntable, which is a weird sensation for me. Good luck. I hope this helps, and hopefully someday somebody will license the LDAC protocol or the LDAC streaming system from Sony, but I think it may be too prohibitive cost-wise to put into an inexpensive USB adapter.
Well, if you have any more questions about that or any other high-end premium audio gear, let us know. Ask@techthing.com. Patrick Norton here, our audio guru, would love to test things out for us, all of us, including myself.
All the things.
And with that, we would like to say a big thank you to Hak5 for the studio space. And make sure to check out all of the security and privacy podcasts that we, myself and Darren Kitchen, do over at hak5.org. And make sure to head over to shop.hak5.org to learn about the brand new Plunderbug. Yarr! It's a pocket-sized LAN tap, and it lets you basically bug the Ethernet connections with USB-C convenience. Very, very cool. Some like hotcakes. So thank you so much to Hak5. We appreciate the studio space.
Thank you.
And remember, once in a while, put down your phone, step away from the screen, close your laptop, and do something analog like John, who writes, "Hey Tech Thing crew, my something analog last week was exploring the vastness of Big Bend National Park.
Awesome.
The views were amazing, especially the night view with zero light pollution for miles. Keep up the great work." From John. Thank you so much, John. And your pictures are incredible, and I'm very curious about, it tells me, because you sent them to me on Google. Sony, he's using a Sony RX100 Mark VI. Good choice, John. Good choice. It is a great camera.
It's amazing if you've been in a city for a while to be in the middle of nowhere and
I
look
love
up
it.
and be like,
Beautiful. That's how I felt when I went to New Zealand. I was like, there's stars out there in the universe. I forgot you existed. And they were different ones, too.
on a good night in the Bay Area, we can see several stars and occasionally
like
Orion.
3.
We do
If we're
get
lucky.
we'll see Venus and Mars and Jupiter.
Yes,
when
we
they're
do
getting-
see those quite a bit.
But yeah, stars, a little too much light pollution around here.
Yeah,
A little too much fog.
unfortunately.
But we can drive that way and see them. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on Tech Thing.
Yeah, I think one of my best moments in New Zealand was walking out of a restaurant all by myself because I was traveling on my own. And I was walking back to my hotel, and then I just happened to look up and I like stopped in my tracks. I was just like, doo-doo-doo. Whoa, whoa. And I just looked around like, I probably looked so dumb, like standing in the middle of the sidewalk, just going, whoa, like freaking out at the stars.
The first semester in college in New York City, I came back home for Christmas, and I literally, because I'm classy this way, was peeing off the front porch of our farmhouse, and like looked up, and did not, I covered myself and took care of business, but I literally stared at the sky for like 15 minutes.
It's
Till
incredible.
my
It's
dad
so
opened
beautiful.
up the door and was like, I can't do that.
Hey, bleep.
Hey bleep, I better not smell that in the morning. And yes, those are stars. You didn't get those in New York, did you? And I was like,
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was a bonding moment.
Thank you everyone for watching this show. We love you guys and ladies. And thank you, yes, to our patrons. We love y'all. We'll see you next week. Bye.